Welcome back to another episode of the podcast with Scott and Larry. We're going to cover a few topics, a couple of ones on the tech side regarding the way that teams work. And I think there's a place for blending in more agility and the agile mindset for that, because Larry and I have definitely seen that the more agile companies are, the better the AI adoption and efforts usually go. But with that, for this very first segment, we're going to jump in, Larry, into the prompt that would be important for people to know about if they're not already aware. Let's talk about the death of the prompt engineer. That sounds rather macabre, but you want
to? Yes, it is. When I first saw this topic come up, I go, that's a little bit, what do you call it, deterministic, poor guy. But it opens up, in my mind, it opened up a whole bunch of interesting ideas. First of all, the role of prompt engineer. I was thinking, that's up to the company. If you want to spend money for somebody that's always on the cutting edge, always working hard to figure out how to best create prompts, then that's fine. And I have to say that with each iteration, with a new release of anything like ChatGPT, Claude, you name it, the way you create your prompts is a little bit different each time. And so if you want to have somebody on top of that, you want to have a dedicated resource, that's up to you. But my big thing here is that prompt engineering is so fundamental and so important that it's a skill that everybody should have. It's not a temporary hurdle to get over. It's a habit that we need to cultivate. It's almost like learning a new language. I remember when I learned German, I really couldn't get close to understanding the culture, understand how Germans think. And I have to say, I have a deep respect and love for Germany, and I got lots of friends there, and it inspires me every time when I think about it. But I could never get close enough to that culture until I was comfortable speaking German. I'm trying to do the same thing with Slovenian, except it's quite a challenge. But the point being, speaking to your agent in prompts, and that's how you do it, is something that everybody needs to know. Now, granted, and this is the important part here, you're going to have people in your organization. Some are really good, some are less good, some are really not good at all, some are beginners. Fine, but identify someone on your team or in your department that's really good at prompt engineering and has an interest for it and is constantly improving and understands, say, the difference between ChatGPT, this is an older one, ChatGPT 3.0 from 4.0 and how the prompts might be different. But I would absolutely say that you need to have that competency in your groups. So is it dead? I don't know. It's up to you, really, if you want to pay for that position. But the art of prompt engineering is absolutely not dead. It's absolutely key. And that's to identify people in your organization who have a passion for it, are good at it, is also extremely important. So then they can, in turn, train other people. And it's not so easy. I've been reading a book on AI just recently, and it is enormously interesting. If you change the role that the AI agent has, or even tweak your prompt a little bit, the outcomes could be dramatic. And so learning how to do that prompt correctly and understanding what you want up front and all these other tips that we go through in our AI classes, those are fundamental, and it's something that everybody needs to learn, even if you have, say, experts or people in your groups that are some better than others, and I would encourage that.
Yeah. Part of the way we like to handle some of these topics is do a little bit of pro and con. One, I agree with everything you're saying, Larry. And for those who are looking at this, I'll have a couple of pieces of information on this. One is that we offer, obviously, the AI for Scrum Masters course, AI for product owners, there's advanced courses, things like that. One course that Scrum Alliance offers is the Get Started with Prompt Engineering, which we've listened people haven't signed up for. Now, if you take a bell curve of early adopters, early majority, late majority, laggards, et cetera, certainly late majority and laggards might come in and not really know how to fundamentally do this. But when I say like data shows us that the people we work with who have been, by and large, familiar with Agile because that's how they have a relationship with the Scrum Alliance or their prior clients or whatever, they're not signing up for prompt engineering. So is it something you need to know? And I can add on, look, the state of everyone out there right now listening that's using AI, today is the worst it will ever be for you. It's only going to get better. Its ability to understand what you're after. And some of you probably already seen this. You can ask it to connect and it starts doing things like, well, it seemed like this is similar to another spreadsheet of yours. Do you want to pull that one up as well? So it can infer a lot more and it can make sense of the language. So I feel like the models, you could see that it's, did I prompt it right when I use that word connect or look up or whatever? The model will get better than that. So it's a bit of a band-aid. But I think in some ways, if we're focusing too much on prompt engineering, the aspect, it reminded me when we were discussing this before, and Larry, that it's like typing. Do you remember back in the day on resumes, you'd say like typing skills, or they would list it on the job description, or familiar with a computer, familiar with Windows 3.1, those kind of things. And now it's just a given, like, do you have computer skills? That's just a given. I think for everybody out there, prompt engineering will become just the expectation standard, no matter what, because it applies to every department, every role. There's a way we can use AI. So I would just expect that. The fact that they're doing it even in the high schools now, I've even heard of middle schoolers beginning to use AI. So I just know it's going to be de facto. The other thing, just to keep our eye, as they say, like when you're looking at process flow and where you might be delayed, you want to look at the baton, not the runners. This is a little bit like that. We want to look at what's the point of all this. The point is, are you generating value? And I would say, depending on how much you're using it, if you aren't being like wowed every week by what AI can do, then you might not be leaning in enough, because you can create a lot of value. And Larry, you and I are always having these conversations about what it's doing and how we're surprised and impressed. So keep your eyes on the prize, which is, that's a means to an end on the prompting, a skill to be able to do that. But what you're really after is, do you have the mindset and working away with your company that we're really leaning in, discovering value versus here's a given tool, here's some prompts, or here's the structure of a prompt. Yes, but what we're after is creating that value. I think you and I, Larry, we talked a bit about, we have an appreciation for some of this because it is about semantics. You studied a number of languages. I studied French quite a bit in college and am familiar with Spanish. But if you know another language, you're understanding the words and some of that structure matter and how you infer meaning from it. And really, if you look at the end, that's what we're doing with a very large computer with the LLMs. It's trying to infer meaning from that and map it with all this other data that you have. So I think it helps to be aware of not just the prompt, but why does that matter? And then you can play with it, because all the LLMs are different. And some of you might be using ones that aren't as strong on this, or if you're doing a simpler version, like an open source version or something tailored for your industry, it might matter. And I think the secondary one that doesn't come in this one, I'm just gonna add this on, Larry, doggone it, I bet everyone is really trying to use this. You realize how much it matters, your data, and how clean your data is, how structured your data is, what you're gonna get from that. Because I can ask a great prompt, but if we literally don't have that field entered for half of our data sets, it just doesn't know and it can't make it up, right? So definitely always be mindful that some of the heavier lifting up front might be the structure of the data, consistency of the data. We're running in this internally. I was just talking with Larry about how we're messing around with our data. And yeah, how did we format the date? How did we refer to the class? Now, I will say last time we were doing something mobbing internally on a project, I was impressed because Claude's like, oh, AI PO, is that the same as AI for product owners? Because it could see in 2 different sheets we had it referred to it different ways. And it made sense of all the 9 classes we were looking at, which I was impressed. Again, I'm like, well, I thought it would at least get 1 or 2 of these wrong, but it got them all right. So keep that in mind, keep looking for the value. And just as a reminder, I mentioned the classes that we offer for the Scrum Alliance, you can check out, take a look at those. But also just know we do have meetups where you actually can interact with others. We do a lean coffee where you can bring your questions and topics. So put a comment there if you'd like to be added to that list. We started off by adding all of our students to it so they can keep their learning going. But if you'd like to check that out, put a comment in there. We can get you added or connect with you that way. We also have a monthly topic where I actually do a formal presentation. Last time was on the workspace agents from ChatGPT. One thing Larry and I are trying to do is be very authentic in our style and just being top of mind for what's happening out there, but also what's on our mind and that application for personal life. If that's helpful for you, just know there's people out there who don't even know that that's out there. But when you subscribe or when you like, or when you give a comment, YouTube's algorithm simply going to say like, well, this seems like this has been helpful for people, and it puts it in front of more people. So more people get help. And really for us, in the end, we mentioned the Ikagi. That's part of what we're really about, is having impact and helping others. So just consider that when you're listening. We will wrap this up. Any last comments, thoughts on this, Larry, before we end this segment and move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Scott, that there's this idea of AI first. And the book I've been reading, and we could put it in the show notes here, is Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. It's pretty small print, sorry. But his argument is one that I've been thinking of too a lot, is look at AI as your partner. Right now, you said the computers are part of our workflow. It is. Can you imagine working without a computer? No, I can't. Absolutely not.
No.
And it's the same way with your AI agent. that it'll be so much a part of you and your thinking process, your planning process, that it's going to be as natural as typing on your keyboard, which is then knowing how to write good prompts and knowing what prompts speak to the AI agent the most effectively based on your goal. That's all just a fundamental talent that all of us have to have. And like I said, some will have more, some will have less based on their interest. Just beware of those people in your group and begin to learn from each other. And the better you get at it, the greater and more amazing your outcomes will be.
Yeah. Well said. That makes me think about a topic we'll have to pick up later, and that's similar to OKRs. Everyone knows what goals are, but there's ways to format your goals that work a lot better, and there's ways that, like, I don't know, I thought we were all aligned, but turns out we really weren't. I'll have to pick that one up later. All right, we'll wrap up this topic for now and jump over to the next one. Again, thanks for those who are listening. Take a look at the resources that Larry had mentioned, what else we might offer you. Keep the learning going even outside just this podcast. Thanks everyone for listening.